Hey there. Tonight, as you prepare to step into the serene desert sanctuary of Paradise Valley, where digital dreams transform into abundant reality, you can allow your mind to drift gently toward calmness, wealth, and deep subconscious alignment. Before you drift off, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if this kind of transformative growth speaks to you. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and how many days in a row you've been on this manifestation journey. I love seeing how committed this community is becoming. Now dim the lights, get comfortable, and let your mind absorb abundance. The warm desert breeze carries the sweet scent of blooming Palo Verde as you find yourself walking along a curved stone pathway that winds through the most exquisite desert landscape you've ever seen. Towering saguaro cacti stand like ancient guardians against the deepening amber sky, their arms raised in silent celebration of another perfect Arizona evening. The path beneath your feet is made of smooth flagstone, worn comfortable by countless visitors who have walked this same route toward something extraordinary. As you round a gentle bend, the pathway opens onto a breathtaking terrace that seems to float above the valley floor. Paradise Valley stretches out before you in all directions, a tapestry of red rock formations, luxury homes nestled among desert gardens, and the majestic silhouette of Camelback Mountain rising against the painted sky. An infinity pool reflects the deepening colors above, creating a mirror world where possibilities seem endless. Near the pool's edge, sitting in an elegant teak chair that perfectly complements the desert architecture, you notice a woman in her early 30s with dark hair that catches the golden light. She's holding a sleek tablet, occasionally glancing up at the spectacular view with an expression of deep contentment and quiet confidence. Something about her presence radiates a calm prosperity that draws you closer, as if she possesses secrets about abundance that your soul has been seeking. "I wondered when you'd find your way here," she says, without looking up from her screen, her voice carrying a warm Texas accent with subtle Spanish inflections. "I'm Elena Rodriguez, and I've been expecting you." She gestures gracefully toward a comfortable chair that seems to have been placed just for you, positioned to take in both her presence and the magnificent desert vista. "Please, sit. The sunset from this terrace is absolutely magical, and I have a story I think you need to hear." As you settle into the surprisingly luxurious chair, Elena closes her tablet and turns to face you fully. Her eyes hold a depth that speaks of someone who has journeyed through uncertainty and emerged into clarity, who has transformed challenge into triumph. Behind her, a gentle fountain creates a soothing rhythm that harmonizes perfectly with the desert evening's natural symphony. 3 years ago, I was sitting in my car in a Dallas school parking lot, holding a pink slip and wondering how I was going to tell my immigrant parents that their daughter, the first in our family to become a teacher, had just lost her job. Elena begins, her voice gentle but knowing. "Today, my online AI-powered education business generates $466,000 a year, mostly while I sleep in this beautiful Paradise Valley home." The desert around you seems to pulse with ancient wisdom as Elena's story begins to unfold. Hummingbirds dart between blooming desert marigolds, and somewhere in the distance, a coyote calls to the emerging stars. This place, this moment, feels like exactly where you need to be, to hear exactly what you need to know. You know that feeling when everything you thought was secure suddenly crumbles? Elena asks, picking up a piece of smooth desert glass from the table beside her. When the career you built your identity around disappears in a 15-minute meeting? When you realize that all those years of playing it safe were actually the riskiest thing you could do? The question hangs in the warm desert air like the last rays of sunlight painting the red rocks in shades of copper and gold. You find yourself leaning forward, drawn into her story, as if it were a lifeline thrown to someone drowning in their own doubts about financial security and digital possibilities. As the first bats begin their evening hunt above the desert landscape, Elena's story deepens like the colors of the Arizona sky. She turns the piece of desert glass over in her hands, its surface smoothed by countless years of desert winds and rain, much like her own transformation has been shaped by forces beyond her control. That Tuesday morning in March started like any other day at Roosevelt High School in Dallas. Elena continues, her voice taking on the cadence of someone who has told this story before, but never loses the emotion of its truth. I was setting up my classroom for third period advanced algebra, arranging the desks in small groups, because I'd discovered that my Latino students learned better when they could support each other in both English and Spanish. You find yourself naturally drawn to the rhythm of her words, the way they seem to flow with the gentle sound of water trickling through the desert fountain. As Elena speaks, you can almost see the classroom she's describing, the motivational posters in both languages, the carefully organized supplies, the dreams and aspirations of hundreds of students who had passed through those doors over 15 years. I loved teaching, truly loved it, Elena says, and you can hear the authenticity in her voice. My parents, Maria and Carlos, had immigrated from Valencia, Spain, when I was just 3 years old. They worked double shifts, my father in construction, my mother cleaning offices, so that I could have the education they never had. When I became a teacher, it felt like we had achieved the American dream. The desert evening grows more peaceful around you as Elena's words paint pictures of dedication and family sacrifice. You can sense the weight of expectations, the pride of being the first in her family to achieve professional status, and the deep sense of purpose that drove her to excel in serving students who looked like her, who came from families like hers. But that morning, Mrs. Patterson called me to the office during my planning period. Elena continues, and something in her tone shifts subtly. Budget cuts, she said. The bilingual math program was being eliminated. 15 years of perfect evaluations, countless hours of unpaid tutoring, summers spent developing culturally responsive curriculum. None of it mattered when the state funding disappeared. You begin to see opportunities in every challenge, just as Elena discovered during her darkest moment. The thought emerges naturally in your mind, as if the desert wisdom itself is speaking through her story. I sat in my car in that school parking lot for 2 hours, Elena says, her eyes distant with memory. I called my mother first, and she cried, not just for me, but for what this meant for our family's story. We had always believed that education was the path to security, that if you worked hard and followed the rules, you would be safe. That day, I realized safety was an illusion. The red rocks around Paradise Valley begin to glow with deeper intensity as the sun continues its descent, and you find yourself understanding that this moment of apparent failure was actually the beginning of Elena's greatest success. Her story becomes a mirror for your own potential transformation, showing you that what appears to be an ending can actually be a beginning. For 3 weeks, I applied for teaching positions all over Texas, Elena continues. But budget cuts were happening everywhere. The jobs that were available paid less than what I'd been making, and none of them valued bilingual education the way I knew it needed to be valued. I felt like everything I had built my identity around was crumbling. The evening air carries the scent of desert sage and creosote, ancient plants that have thrived in harsh conditions for thousands of years. As Elena speaks, You begin to understand that resilience isn't just about surviving difficulty. It's about discovering strength you never knew you possessed. My cousin Miguel lives here in Scottsdale, and he invited me to visit for a long weekend, Elena says, gesturing toward the magnificent landscape surrounding you. I had never been to the desert before, and I thought it would be empty, lifeless. But the moment I saw those saguaro cacti standing tall against the sky, I realized I had been completely wrong. This desert wasn't empty. It was full of life that had learned to thrive in conditions that would kill other plants. You naturally attract the resources you need. Your subconscious mind begins to recognize, as Elena's story reveals how guidance and opportunity appeared exactly when she needed them most. Miguel works in tech, and over dinner that first night, he started telling me about artificial intelligence and how it was changing everything. Elena continues. He showed me AI tools that could generate content, translate languages, create educational materials in minutes instead of hours. I was fascinated, but also skeptical. How could a computer understand the nuances of teaching bilingual students? The infinity pool beside you perfectly reflects the deepening sky, creating a seamless blend between earth and heaven, reality and possibility. Elena's story is having the same effect on your mind, dissolving the boundaries between what seems impossible and what might actually be inevitable. That weekend, instead of going to tourist attractions, I spent hours in Miguel's home office learning about AI tools, Elena says. He showed me platforms that could help create educational content, automate video editing, even generate quiz questions in multiple languages. For the first time since losing my job, I felt a spark of excitement instead of fear. As Elena speaks, you can feel the desert evening settling around you like a comfortable blanket. The temperature is perfect, warm enough to feel embraced by the environment, cool enough to feel refreshed and alert. This is the temperature of possibility, the climate where dreams take root and flourish. The idea came to me on my last night in Arizona, Elena continues, her voice gaining energy. I was sitting by Miguel's pool, much like we're sitting here now, watching the stars emerge over the desert. I realized that all those years of creating lesson plans, explaining complex concepts in simple terms, helping students overcome their fear of mathematics, those weren't skills that died with my teaching job. Those were skills that could reach students all over the world. Your own potential begins to expand like the vast desert sky above, limitless and full of possibilities you're only beginning to imagine. Elena's breakthrough becomes a template for your own transformation, showing you that your existing skills and experiences are not limitations. They're launching pads. I decided to start a YouTube channel, Elena says, and you can hear the mixture of excitement and terror that decision represented. I had no idea how to edit videos, how to grow an audience, or how to make money online. But I knew how to teach, and I knew there were millions of students who needed what I could offer. The desert around you seems to pulse with approval, as if the ancient landscape recognizes the birth of something significant. Even the most majestic saguaro cactus started as a tiny seed, growing slowly but persistently toward its full potential. My first video was called Mathematicas Made Easy, Solving Linear Equations in English and Spanish. Elena continues, laughing softly at the memory. I filmed it in my apartment in Dallas, with my phone propped up against a stack of books. The audio was terrible. The lighting was worse. And I was so nervous, I stumbled over words I'd been teaching for 15 years. You begin to understand that perfection isn't required for progress, that starting imperfectly is infinitely better than not starting at all. Elena's willingness to begin badly became the foundation for her eventual mastery. That first video got 12 views, Elena says. 12. And one of them was my mother, who watched it 5 times trying to understand what I was doing. But something magical happened over the next few weeks. Students started finding my content. They left comments in Spanish and English, thanking me for explaining concepts their teachers couldn't make clear. They shared my videos with friends. Slowly, incredibly slowly, my subscriber count began to grow. The stars are beginning to appear overhead, pinpricks of light in the vast desert sky. Each star seems to represent a possibility, a potential student, a future success that's waiting to be claimed. Elena's story is showing you that abundance doesn't arrive all at once. It accumulates, one subscriber, one view, one success at a time. But 12 subscribers doesn't pay rent, Elena continues with a knowing smile. I was running out of savings, and my parents kept asking when I was going to get a real job. The pressure was enormous. Every day I spent creating content was a day I wasn't earning money, and my immigrant family's fear of financial instability was becoming my fear too. The gentle sound of the fountain beside you creates a rhythm that matches your breathing, naturally slowing and deepening as Elena's story reveals how challenges become catalysts for breakthrough. You find yourself understanding that struggle isn't the opposite of success. It's often success in disguise. The desert evening deepens around you as Elena's story continues, and you notice how the landscape seems to come alive in the twilight. Night-blooming cereus flowers are beginning to open, their pale petals unfurling like stars against the dark green of the cacti. This is the magic hour in the desert, when the harsh heat of day gives way to the gentle embrace of evening, and Elena's story mirrors this transformation. The breakthrough came during my 4th month of creating content, Elena says, her voice taking on the tone of someone sharing a closely guarded secret. I was struggling to create enough practice problems for my algebra videos. Each problem took me 10 or 15 minutes to write, and I needed dozens of them to give students adequate practice. That's when I remembered what Miguel had shown me about AI. You naturally attract the resources you need. Your mind accepts this truth as easily as the desert accepts the evening rain. Elena's story demonstrates how solutions appear exactly when you're ready to receive them. I started experimenting with AI tools that could generate math problems, Elena continues, picking up her tablet and showing you a screen filled with colorful educational content. At first, I was skeptical. Could a computer really create problems that would challenge students appropriately? But what I discovered was incredible. The AI could generate unlimited practice problems at exactly the right difficulty level, and it could create them in both English and Spanish. The infinity pool beside you reflects the first stars of evening, creating a double constellation that seems to represent the multiplication of possibilities that Elena discovered. Her story reveals how technology doesn't replace human creativity. It amplifies it. My 6th video was called Master Quadratic Equations, 50 Practice Problems with Step-by-Step Solutions, Elena says, and you can hear the excitement building in her voice. I used AI to generate the problems, but I solved each one myself on camera, explaining my thinking process in both languages. That video changed everything. As Elena speaks, you begin to see opportunities everywhere, just as she learned to recognize the potential in every new technological tool, every student comment, every moment of connection with her growing audience. Within 2 weeks, that video had gotten over 5,000 views, Elena continues. Students were sharing it in study groups, teachers were recommending it to their classes, and parents were bookmarking it for their children. The comments section became a virtual classroom where students from Mexico, Texas, California, and even Spain were helping each other understand the concepts. The desert breeze carries the sound of distant coyotes calling to each other across the valley, a reminder that community and communication are essential for survival and success. Elena's story shows how building genuine connections, even through a screen, creates the foundation for sustainable abundance. But the real revelation came when I looked at my analytics, Elena says, touching her tablet screen to show you colorful charts and graphs. The AI-generated practice problems were keeping students engaged for an average of 18 minutes per video, compared to 6 minutes for my earlier content. Students were learning more effectively, staying focused longer, and coming back for more. Your unique background becomes your greatest strength, you realize, as Elena's story demonstrates how her bilingual teaching experience, combined with AI technology, created something far more valuable than either element could produce alone. I started dedicating entire days to creating AI-enhanced content, Elena continues. I would generate hundreds of practice problems, then film myself solving the most challenging ones. I created vocabulary guides where the AI would provide definitions in both languages. Then I would add cultural context and real-world examples. My channel began growing exponentially. The luxury terrace around you seems designed to showcase abundance. The carefully selected furniture, the thoughtfully placed lighting, the seamless integration of technology and natural beauty. Elena's story mirrors this environment, showing how success comes from the thoughtful combination of human wisdom and technological power. By my 8th month, I had reached 1,000 subscribers, Elena says, and the achievement sounds both modest and monumental in the context of her journey. 1,000 people who had chosen to follow my teaching, who trusted me to help them understand mathematics. It felt like a miracle, but it was just the beginning. The evening air carries the scent of night-blooming jasmine, a fragrance that seems to celebrate transformation and new beginnings. Elena's story is having the same effect on your mind, opening pathways to possibilities you hadn't imagined before. The first time I made $500 in a single month from YouTube ad revenue, I called my parents and cried, Elena admits, her voice soft with memory. It wasn't life-changing money, but it was proof. Proof that this wasn't just a hobby or a distraction from finding a real job. It was the foundation of something that could actually support me. You begin to understand that abundance flows as naturally as desert springs, emerging from underground sources that have been building pressure for years before finally breaking through to the surface. Elena's success wasn't sudden. It was the inevitable result of consistent effort and strategic evolution. But $500 a month still wasn't enough to live on, Elena continues with characteristic honesty. I was supplementing with substitute teaching and tutoring, still living paycheck to paycheck, still feeling the pressure from my family to find stability. The difference was that now I had hope. Now I could see a path forward. The red rocks surrounding Paradise Valley glow softly in the starlight, ancient formations that have stood steady through countless storms and seasons. Elena's story reminds you that persistence, like these rocks, becomes more beautiful and valuable over time. That's when I started exploring other ways to monetize my expertise, Elena says, her tablet screen reflecting the pool lights as she shows you various platforms and programs. I discovered that I could create online courses, offer tutoring sessions through video calls, and even sell study guides and worksheets. the AI tools I was using could help with all of these ventures. Your influence naturally expands. Your subconscious mind begins to accept, as Elena's story demonstrates how one successful platform becomes a foundation for multiple income streams. I created my first online course using AI to help with everything from outline creation to quiz generation, Elena continues. It was called Algebra Mastery for Spanish Speakers, and it combined video lessons, interactive practice problems, and cultural examples that made math relevant to Latino students' lives. The fountain beside you creates a gentle rhythm that seems to match the flow of Elena's success story. Water finds its level naturally, flowing around obstacles and creating abundance wherever it goes. Elena's approach to building her business mirrors this natural principle. The course took me 6 weeks to create, working evenings and weekends, Elena says. I priced it at $97, thinking maybe I'd sell a few copies to cover my expenses. In the first month, I sold 43 courses. In the second month, 87. By the 6th month, I was selling over 200 courses per month. The mathematics of Elena's success create their own poetry, each number representing not just revenue, but students helped, families supported, dreams made possible. Her story becomes a template for your own potential multiplication of impact and income. I reinvested everything back into improving the content and expanding my reach, Elena continues. I hired a virtual assistant to help with video editing, used AI tools to create course materials in Portuguese for Brazilian students, and started developing partnerships with educational websites and apps. The desert around you seems to pulse with life despite its apparent harshness, reminding you that thriving in challenging conditions often requires the kind of innovation and adaptation that Elena discovered in her journey from traditional employment to digital entrepreneurship. By the end of my first year online, I was generating $8,000 per month, Elena says, and the number hangs in the air like a promise. $8,000 doing what I loved, teaching students who genuinely wanted to learn, creating content that made a real difference in people's lives. For the first time since losing my teaching job, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The stars above Paradise Valley grow brighter as the last traces of sunset fade from the western horizon, and the desert landscape transforms into something even more magical. Lights from luxury homes dot the valley floor like earthbound constellations, each one representing dreams achieved and abundance manifested. Elena's story continues to unfold with the same natural progression as the evening itself. The moment I realized this could become something truly extraordinary happened on a Tuesday morning in October, Elena says, adjusting her position in the comfortable chair to better face both you and the spectacular view. I was reviewing my analytics when I noticed something that made my heart race with possibility. Abundance flows to you effortlessly. Your mind begins to understand, as Elena's story reveals how recognition of patterns and opportunities becomes the key to exponential growth. My content was being shared in WhatsApp groups across Latin America, Elena continues, her eyes lighting up with the memory. Parents in Mexico were sending my videos to their children studying in the United States. Teachers in Colombia were using my practice problems in their classrooms. Students in Spain were commenting that my explanations were clearer than their textbooks. The infinity pool beside you reflects the desert stars perfectly, creating a sense of limitless space that mirrors the global reach Elena was discovering. Her local expertise was becoming universal value, transcending borders and language barriers. That's when I realized I wasn't just running a YouTube channel anymore, Elena says, her voice taking on the tone of someone who has glimpsed their true potential. I was building an international education platform. The AI tools that had started as simple problem generators were becoming the foundation for something much larger. You find yourself naturally drawn to the rhythm of expansion in her story, the way small innovations compound into transformative breakthroughs. Elena's experience demonstrates how technology amplifies human connection rather than replacing it. I made a decision that terrified and exhilarated me in equal measure, Elena continues. I was going to quit substitute teaching entirely and focus all my energy on scaling my online business. My parents thought I was crazy. Mija, my mother said, teaching online isn't a real job. What about benefits? What about security? The desert breeze carries the scent of sage and palo verde blossoms, plants that have learned to thrive by sending their roots deep and their branches wide. Elena's story mirrors this natural wisdom, showing how true security comes from diversification and adaptation rather than dependence on external systems. But I had learned something crucial during those months of building my audience, Elena says, her voice gaining confidence. The traditional definition of job security, working for someone else, depending on their decisions for your livelihood, that was actually the riskiest approach of all. Real security comes from building multiple income streams, from developing skills that can't be outsourced or eliminated by budget cuts. Your own potential begins to expand like the vast desert sky above, limitless and full of possibilities you're only beginning to imagine. Elena's breakthrough becomes a mirror for your own capacity to transcend conventional limitations. I invested in more sophisticated AI tools and hired a team of virtual assistants from around the world, Elena continues. Maria in Colombia helped with Spanish translations and cultural adaptations. James in the Philippines managed my social media accounts. Sarah in Ireland handled customer service for my European students. The luxury terrace around you showcases how thoughtful design creates an environment where success feels natural and inevitable. Elena's approach to building her team reflects the same principle, surrounding herself with excellence and expertise that amplifies her own strengths. The AI revolution in education was accelerating faster than anyone anticipated, Elena says, showing you her tablet screen filled with sophisticated dashboards and analytics. I could now create personalized learning paths for individual students, generate practice problems that adapted to their skill level, and provide instant feedback in multiple languages. As Elena speaks, you begin to understand that wealth becomes your natural state when you align your unique talents with emerging opportunities and serve others with genuine dedication to their success. My breakthrough course was AI-powered math mastery, Elena continues. Instead of just teaching algebra, I was teaching students how to use artificial intelligence as a learning partner. They could generate unlimited practice problems, get instant explanations for concepts they didn't understand, and track their progress with sophisticated analytics. The fountain beside you creates a steady rhythm that seems to match the flow of Elena's expanding success. Water always finds the path of least resistance while maintaining its essential nature, just as Elena learned to let technology handle routine tasks while she focused on the human elements that only she could provide. The course launched with over 3,000 pre-orders, Elena says, and you can hear the amazement still present in her voice. 3,000 students who were willing to invest in their education before the course even existed, based on the trust I had built through consistent, valuable content. The mathematics of Elena's success create their own poetry of possibility. Each student represents not just revenue, but transformation. Not just a transaction, but a relationship that could span years of learning and growth. Within 6 months of that launch, My monthly revenue had jumped from $8,000 to $25,000, Elena continues. But more importantly, I was helping students in ways I never could have imagined as a traditional classroom teacher. My reach had expanded from 30 students per semester to thousands of students per month. You naturally attract the resources you need. Your subconscious mind accepts, as Elena's story demonstrates how commitment to service creates a magnetic field that draws opportunity, assistance, and abundance from unexpected sources. I decided to move to Arizona permanently, Elena says, gesturing toward the magnificent landscape surrounding you. This desert had shown me what was possible when I stopped limiting myself to conventional definitions of success. I wanted to live where I could see those saguaro cacti every day, reminding me that growth takes time, but persistence creates something magnificent. The desert evening envelops you like a comfortable embrace, warm and dry and full of ancient wisdom. Elena's story is having the same effect on your understanding of what's possible, dissolving old limitations and revealing new horizons. I found this house in Paradise Valley, Elena continues, and you realize you're sitting on the very terrace where she made many of the decisions that transformed her business from successful to extraordinary. It has a home office overlooking Camelback Mountain, a recording studio for creating content, and space for the team members who visit from around the world. The luxury surrounding you reflects not just financial success, but the wisdom to create environments that inspire continued growth and innovation. Elena's choices demonstrate how abundance isn't just about accumulating wealth, it's about designing a life that supports your highest potential. My parents visited for Thanksgiving that first year, Elena says, her voice softening with emotion. My father stood on this terrace, looking out at the desert landscape and said, "Mija, I think we were wrong about what security looks like. You've built something we never could have imagined." Your influence naturally expands. You begin to understand, as Elena's story shows how personal transformation creates ripple effects that touch everyone in your sphere of influence. That conversation with my father was worth more than any revenue milestone, Elena continues. It represented the completion of our family's American dream, not just achieving financial stability, but creating something that could help other families achieve their dreams too. The stars above seemed to pulse with approval, ancient lights bearing witness to dreams achieved through courage, innovation, and persistent service. Elena's story becomes a constellation of possibility, showing you that your own dreams are not just wishful thinking, but inevitable destinations waiting for your arrival. The night air in Paradise Valley carries a coolness that makes you want to sink deeper into the comfortable terrace furniture, and the distant lights of Phoenix create a gentle glow on the horizon. Elena's story continues to unfold like the desert itself, vast, full of hidden treasures, and more beautiful the deeper you explore. The moment I knew I was building something truly extraordinary happened during a video call with a superintendent in Houston, Elena says, her tablet screen glowing softly in the starlight. She told me that test scores in her district's bilingual math programs had improved by 37% after teachers started incorporating my AI-generated practice materials into their curriculum. Your influence spreads like desert wildflowers after rain. Your mind naturally accepts, as Elena's story reveals how individual success becomes community transformation when guided by genuine service to others. That conversation changed my entire perspective on what I was building, Elena continues, the fountain beside you creating a gentle soundtrack for her words. I wasn't just running an online education business anymore. I was creating tools and resources that were transforming how math was taught to Spanish-speaking students across North America. The infinity pool reflects the desert stars with perfect clarity, creating a sense of unlimited space and possibility that mirrors the expansion Elena was experiencing in her business and her vision for its impact. I made a decision that would have terrified the version of me sitting in that Dallas school parking lot, Elena says, her voice carrying the confidence of someone who has learned to trust her instincts. I was going to stop thinking like a teacher who happened to use technology and start thinking like an entrepreneur who happened to love education. The desert landscape around you seems to pulse with approval, as if the ancient saguaro cacti and weathered rock formations recognize the wisdom of embracing growth and change rather than clinging to old identities and limitations. I partnered with 3 major educational technology companies, Elena continues, showing you her screen filled with logos of companies you recognize from school districts across the country. Instead of just creating content for my own channel, I was developing AI-powered curriculum modules that could be integrated into existing educational software platforms. Abundance flows as naturally as desert springs, you begin to understand, as Elena's story demonstrates how partnerships and collaborations multiply, impact far beyond what any individual effort could achieve alone. The first partnership was with MathMaster Pro, a platform used by over 2 million students nationwide, Elena says. They needed bilingual content that could adapt to different skill levels, and I had developed exactly that using AI tools. The licensing deal alone generated more revenue in 6 months than I had made in my entire teaching career. The comfortable chair you're sitting in seems designed to support deep contemplation and big thinking, much like the environment Elena had created for herself in Paradise Valley. Her story reveals how investing in the right conditions, physical, technological, and relational, accelerates success exponentially. But the real breakthrough came when I launched my AI-powered homework help service, Elena continues, her excitement evident even in the peaceful desert setting. Students could upload photos of math problems, and my system would provide step-by-step solutions in both English and Spanish, with explanations tailored to their learning style. Your natural capacity for innovation and service begins to expand, just as Elena discovered that her greatest limitations were self-imposed beliefs about what was possible for someone with her background and experience. The homework help service started with 50 subscribers paying $29 per month, Elena says. Within a year, we had over 15,000 subscribers. Students loved the instant access to help. Parents appreciated the bilingual explanations they could understand, and teachers used the detailed solution steps to improve their own instruction. The gentle desert breeze carries the scent of night-blooming cereus, flowers that open only in darkness and bloom with extraordinary beauty. Elena's story mirrors this natural phenomenon, showing how the darkest moments often precede the most spectacular achievements. I hired a team of bilingual math educators from across Latin America, Elena continues. Each team member used AI tools to create content in their area of expertise, but they brought cultural context and teaching wisdom that no computer could provide. We were combining the efficiency of artificial intelligence with the heart of human connection. The luxury terrace around you showcases the rewards of thinking beyond conventional limitations, and Elena's story demonstrates how success multiplies when you create systems that serve others while generating sustainable abundance for yourself. My teacher training programs became another major revenue stream, Elena says, her voice carrying the satisfaction of someone whose work has expanded far beyond personal financial success. Educators from Mexico City to Toronto were learning to integrate AI tools into their bilingual math instruction, and the results were remarkable. You begin to see that prosperity becomes your natural state when you align technological innovation with genuine service to others, just as Elena discovered by combining her teaching expertise with artificial intelligence capabilities. The training programs generated over $40,000 per month by themselves, Elena continues. But more importantly, they were creating a network of educators who were transforming math education for Latino students throughout North America. Every teacher we trained went on to help hundreds of students per year. The stars above Paradise Valley seem to represent the individual lives touched by Elena's expanding influence, each light a reminder that true wealth includes the positive impact you create in the world through your work and dedication. Corporate partnerships began reaching out to me instead of the other way around, Elena says, showing you emails and contracts on her tablet screen. Pearson Education, McGraw-Hill, even Khan Academy wanted to license my AI-generated content or hire me as a consultant for their bilingual math initiatives. The fountain beside you maintains its steady rhythm, water flowing consistently and abundantly, much like the opportunities that began flowing toward Elena once she had established herself as a leader in her field. My biggest partnership was with Estados Unidos Learning Systems, a company that provides educational technology to over 500 school districts, Elena continues. They offered me a 3-year contract worth $750,000 to develop a comprehensive AI-powered bilingual math curriculum. Your mind naturally expands to accommodate bigger possibilities, just as Elena learned to think beyond individual success toward systemic impact that could transform education for millions of students who shared her cultural background and language needs. But I turned down that contract, Elena says, and the surprise in your expression must be visible even in the starlight. Not because it wasn't valuable, but because I had learned something crucial about building lasting wealth. The biggest opportunities often come disguised as someone else's vision for your talents. The desert evening wraps around you like a comfortable blanket, and Elena's wisdom settles into your understanding with the same natural ease. Her story reveals that true abundance comes from building your own platform rather than simply contributing to someone else's empire. Instead, I negotiated a licensing deal where they could use my content and methods, but I retained ownership and creative control, Elena continues. That deal generated the same revenue over 3 years, but it also allowed me to maintain my independence and continue developing new innovations. The red rocks surrounding Paradise Valley glow softly in the reflected light from the valley below, ancient formations that have remained strong and beautiful by maintaining their essential nature while adapting to changing conditions over millions of years. By the end of my 2nd year in Arizona, my business was generating $38,000 per month, Elena says, and the number represents not just financial success, but the fulfillment of promises made to her younger self and her immigrant parents who had sacrificed so much for her education. The desert night has settled completely around the Paradise Valley Terrace, and the view has transformed into something that seems almost magical. The lights of Phoenix stretch toward every horizon like a galaxy spread across the valley floor, and above, the stars shine with the clarity that only desert skies can provide. Elena's story continues to unfold with the same natural magnificence as the landscape surrounding you. The moment I truly understood the power of what I had built came during a family dinner last Christmas, Elena says, her voice carrying the warmth of someone whose success has deep personal meaning. My cousin Miguel, the one who first introduced me to AI tools, looked at me across the table and said, "Elena, you've created something I never imagined was possible. You're not just using technology, you're conducting it like a symphony." Prosperity becomes as natural as breathing desert air. Your subconscious mind accepts, as Elena's story reveals how mastery emerges when human wisdom guides technological capability toward meaningful service. "That description was perfect," Elena continues, her tablet screen reflecting the pool lights as she shows you dashboards that look like the control center of a spaceship. "I had AI systems handling customer service in 7 languages, automatically generating practice problems based on individual student performance, creating personalized study schedules, and even identifying when students were struggling before they realized it themselves. The infinity pool beside you creates perfect reflections of the stars above, doubling the sense of limitless possibility that surrounds Elena's story. Her experience demonstrates how technological mastery amplifies human potential rather than replacing it. My content creation process had evolved into something that would have seemed like science fiction when I was standing in that Dallas school parking lot," Elena says. "I would spend 30 minutes each morning reviewing student performance data and identifying learning gaps. Then AI would generate dozens of targeted video concepts, practice problems, and supplementary materials. Your capacity for abundance expands naturally, just as Elena discovered that limitations exist primarily in imagination rather than reality. Her story shows how dedication to continuous learning and adaptation creates exponential rather than linear growth. I would film for 2 hours, 3 days a week," Elena continues. "But those 6 hours of filming would generate content for the entire month. Videos, podcast episodes, social media posts, email newsletters, and course materials. The AI handled editing, optimization, and distribution across multiple platforms simultaneously. The comfortable terrace furniture seems designed for contemplating big ideas and ambitious plans, much like the environment Elena had created for herself. Her story reveals how investing in the right systems and surroundings accelerates success while reducing effort. My team had grown to 12 people across 6 countries, Elena says, showing you a world map on her screen with dots representing team members in Colombia, Mexico, Spain, the Philippines, Canada, and Ireland. But we operated like a precision instrument, with AI coordinating schedules, translating communications, and tracking project progress in real time. The gentle desert breeze carries the scent of desert flowers that bloom only at night, reminding you that some of the most beautiful achievements happen when others aren't watching, through consistent daily actions that compound over time. Revenue had reached $38,833 per month, Elena says, and the specific number reflects the precision with which she now tracked and optimized every aspect of her business. But more importantly, we were serving over 50,000 students per month across 17 countries. Wealth becomes your natural state. Your mind begins to understand, as Elena's story demonstrates how authentic success creates value for everyone involved rather than extracting value from others. The breakthrough that pushed us over the $400,000 annual mark came from an unexpected source, Elena continues. A graduate student at MIT was using my AI-generated practice problems for her machine learning research, and she discovered that my algorithms were more effective at identifying learning patterns than systems developed by major technology companies. The stars above seemed to pulse with recognition of innovation and excellence, ancient lights bearing witness to human creativity enhanced by technological capability. Elena's story becomes a template for your own potential to achieve extraordinary results through persistence and strategic thinking. MIT licensed my learning algorithms for their own educational research, Elena says, her voice carrying the satisfaction of someone whose work has been validated at the highest academic levels. The licensing fee was substantial, but the credibility was priceless. Suddenly, every major educational technology company wanted to understand how a former high school teacher had developed AI systems that outperformed their research departments. The luxury surrounding you reflects not just financial abundance, but the wisdom to create environments that inspire continued innovation and growth. Elena's choices demonstrate how success compounds when you reinvest in your own development and surround yourself with excellence. I started speaking at educational technology conferences, consulting with school districts, and serving on advisory boards for AI research initiatives, Elena continues. Each of these activities generated revenue, but they also positioned me as a thought leader in the intersection of artificial intelligence and bilingual education. Your influence naturally expands beyond your immediate sphere, just as Elena discovered that expertise shared generously creates opportunities that couldn't be predicted or planned in advance. The most satisfying moment came when I received a letter from a student in Guatemala, Elena says, her voice softening with emotion. She wrote that my videos had helped her understand algebra well enough to earn a scholarship to study engineering. Her father was a coffee farmer, and she would be the first person in her family to attend university. The fountain beside you maintains its steady flow, water finding its natural level and creating abundance wherever it goes. Elena's story mirrors this principle, showing how generous service creates currents of opportunity that benefit everyone they touch. That letter reminded me why I had become a teacher in the first place, Elena continues. Technology had amplified my reach beyond anything I could have imagined, but the core mission remained the same, helping students overcome barriers and achieve their potential. The desert landscape around you seems to embody the principle of thriving in challenging conditions through adaptation and innovation. Elena's story demonstrates how apparent limitations become advantages when approached with creativity and persistence. My parents visited again that spring, Elena says, looking out over the valley lights below. This time, my father brought a notebook filled with questions about AI and online education. He wanted to understand exactly how I had built this business, not because he doubted it anymore, but because he was proud and wanted to share the story with his friends. Your natural capacity for creating and sharing wealth begins to expand, just as Elena's success created opportunities for everyone in her family and community to think differently about what was possible. My mother spent the entire week taking photos and videos of my home office, my recording studio, and this terrace. Elena continues with a laugh. She was documenting proof that her daughter had not just achieved the American dream, but had redefined what that dream could look like in the digital age. The night air carries a coolness that makes you want to stay in this moment forever, listening to Elena's story and absorbing its lessons about possibility, persistence, and the rewards of serving others with excellence and innovation. By December of that year, we had reached our highest monthly revenue ever, $41,728, Elena says. But the number that meant more to me was the other statistic I tracked. We had helped over 200,000 students improve their math skills that year. The Paradise Valley night has reached that perfect temperature where the desert air feels like a gentle embrace, neither too warm nor too cool, just exactly right for deep contemplation and meaningful conversation. The city lights below twinkle like earthbound stars, and Elena's story has reached the point where individual success transforms into something much larger and more meaningful. The phone call that changed everything about how I understood my impact came on a Tuesday morning in February, Elena says, her voice carrying the reverence of someone who has witnessed something extraordinary. Dr. Carmen Vasquez from the University of Texas called to tell me that her research team had been studying the academic outcomes of schools using my AI-generated materials. Your success lifts entire communities, your mind naturally accepts, as Elena's story reveals how personal achievement becomes a rising tide that elevates everyone it touches. The results were beyond anything we had hoped for, Elena continues, showing you research data on her tablet that looks like evidence of a small miracle. Schools with significant Latino populations that had integrated my bilingual AI materials saw math achievement gaps close by an average of 43% in just 2 years. The infinity pool beside you reflects the desert stars with such clarity that it's impossible to tell where the water ends and the sky begins. Elena's story creates the same effect in your understanding, dissolving the boundaries between individual success and collective transformation. Dr. Vasquez wanted to feature my work in a peer-reviewed journal article about AI applications in bilingual education, Elena says, and you can hear the amazement still present in her voice. A former high school teacher whose work was being recognized alongside researchers from Harvard, Stanford, and MIT. The comfortable terrace furniture seems designed for moments of profound realization, much like the environment Elena had created for herself in Paradise Valley. Her story demonstrates how authentic innovation eventually receives the recognition it deserves. But the real validation came from a different source, Elena continues, her voice taking on the tone of someone sharing a sacred truth. I started receiving emails from teachers across Latin America who were using my methods to create their own AI-enhanced educational content. Abundance multiplies when shared generously. You begin to understand, as Elena's story shows how teaching others to succeed creates exponential rather than competitive growth. Maria Santos in Mexico City had adapted my AI techniques to create chemistry tutorials, Elena says, scrolling through messages that represent a global network of educators. Jose Ramirez in Barcelona was using similar methods for physics instruction. Ana Lopez in São Paulo had created AI-powered Portuguese language lessons for Spanish speakers. The gentle desert breeze carries the scent of sage and desert flowers, plants that have learned to thrive by supporting entire ecosystems rather than competing for limited resources. Elena's approach mirrors this natural wisdom. I realized I had accidentally created something I never intended. Elena continues with a smile that's visible even in the starlight. I wasn't just running an education business anymore. I was leading a movement that was transforming how Spanish-speaking students learned mathematics worldwide. Your influence creates ripple effects beyond anything you can imagine, just as Elena discovered that authentic service to others generates impact that compounds across generations and cultures. That's when I made the decision to launch the Elena Rodriguez Education Foundation, she says, and the name carries weight because it represents something larger than personal success. Instead of keeping all the profits from my business, I would reinvest 40% into providing free access to my materials for students in underserved communities. The luxury surrounding you reflects not just financial abundance, but the wisdom to understand that true wealth includes the responsibility to lift others as you climb. Elena's story demonstrates how generosity amplifies rather than diminishes personal prosperity. Elena continues, showing you photos of small classrooms where children are working with tablets and engaging with her content. We partnered with local internet providers and educational nonprofits to ensure that geographic isolation wouldn't prevent access to quality math instruction. The fountain beside you creates a steady rhythm that seems to match the heartbeat of sustainable success: consistent, generous, and life-giving. Elena's story embodies this same principle of creating value that continues flowing long after the initial effort. Within 6 months, the foundation was serving 15,000 students who had never had access to bilingual AI-enhanced education, Elena says, her voice carrying the satisfaction of someone whose work has found its deepest purpose. Test scores in participating schools improved by an average of 57%. The stars above Paradise Valley seem to represent the individual lives transformed by Elena's expanding mission, each light a reminder that true success is measured not just in revenue, but in positive impact multiplied across countless futures. My parents attended the Foundation's first annual gala, Elena continues, her voice softening with emotion. My father, who had worked construction for 30 years to support my education, stood up during the dinner and said, "My daughter has given more students opportunities than I ever dreamed possible." Your legacy naturally extends far beyond your individual achievements, just as Elena discovered that the most meaningful success comes from using your platform to expand possibilities for others who share your background and challenges. The business metrics were extraordinary too, Elena says, showing you financial dashboards that would make any entrepreneur proud. Revenue had grown to $47,000 per month, but our profit margins had actually improved because the foundation work generated partnerships and grants that reduced our operational costs. The desert landscape around you embodies the principle of sustainable abundance, thriving in challenging conditions while supporting entire ecosystems of interdependent life. Elena's story mirrors this natural wisdom. We launched educator training programs in 12 countries, Elena continues, her tablet screen showing a world map dotted with training centers and partner organizations. Teachers were learning not just to use AI tools, but to develop their own educational innovations using the frameworks I had created. The red rocks surrounding Paradise Valley glow softly in the reflected light from below, ancient formations that have remained strong by adapting to changing conditions while maintaining their essential nature. Elena's approach to building lasting impact reflects the same timeless principles. The most rewarding moment came when I received a video message from Esperanza Morales, a teacher in Honduras who had used my training to create AI-powered environmental science lessons, Elena says, playing a clip that shows a young woman surrounded by enthusiastic students. She said, "Elena, you didn't just teach me to use technology. You taught me to believe that a teacher from a small town could create global impact. Your capacity to transform lives naturally expands beyond what you thought possible, just as Elena learned that authentic success creates cascading opportunities for others to achieve their own breakthroughs and contributions." By the end of my 3rd year in Arizona, the business was generating $564,000 annually, Elena says, and the number represents not just financial achievement, but the quantification of value created for hundreds of thousands of students worldwide. But the number that meant more to me was different, Elena continues, looking out over the valley lights that stretch toward every horizon. We had directly served over 800,000 students, and our educator training programs had indirectly impacted over 2 million young people across the Americas. The night air carries a sense of completion and new beginning simultaneously, like the end of one magnificent day and the promise of an even better tomorrow. Elena's story has reached the point where individual transformation becomes collective elevation. I never imagined, sitting in that Dallas school parking lot with a pink slip, that losing my job would lead to serving more students than I could have taught in 10 lifetimes of traditional classroom instruction. Elena reflects, her voice carrying the wonder of someone who has lived beyond her wildest dreams. The Paradise Valley night has reached that magical depth where time seems to slow and every moment carries the weight of eternity. The desert air holds a perfect stillness that makes you want to breathe more deeply, to absorb not just the oxygen, but the wisdom that seems to flow from the ancient landscape surrounding Elena's terrace. The stars above shine with an intensity that city dwellers rarely witness, each point of light a reminder of infinite possibilities waiting to be claimed. As we sit here together in this desert sanctuary, Elena says, her voice taking on the gentle cadence of someone preparing to share the deepest truths of her journey, I want you to understand something that took me years to fully grasp. The transformation I experienced wasn't really about technology or business or even education. It was about learning to trust that the universe responds to authentic service with abundance beyond imagination. Your potential is as vast as the desert sky. Your subconscious mind naturally accepts, as Elena's words settle into your understanding, like seeds finding fertile ground in your consciousness. Look at those saguaro cacti, Elena says, gesturing toward the magnificent giants standing silhouetted against the star field. They live for over 200 years, growing slowly and steadily, creating homes for birds, providing sustenance for desert animals, standing as monuments to persistence and grace. They don't rush their growth, and they don't apologize for taking up space. The gentle sound of the fountain beside you creates a rhythm that matches your increasingly relaxed breathing, and you find yourself sinking deeper into the comfortable chair as Elena's story begins to weave its way into your dreams and aspirations. When I was fired from my teaching job, I thought my career was over, Elena continues, her voice carrying the wisdom of someone who has traveled from despair to triumph. But what I understand now is that endings are always beginnings in disguise. The universe was clearing space in my life for something I couldn't have imagined while I was still clinging to what felt safe. The infinity pool reflects the stars so perfectly that it creates a sense of floating in space, surrounded by possibilities that extend infinitely in every direction. Elena's story has the same effect on your sense of what's possible in your own life. The AI tools that transformed my business were just instruments, Elena says, her words flowing like the gentle water sounds around you. The real power came from combining those tools with something uniquely human: the desire to serve others, the wisdom gained through experience, the ability to understand what students need, not just to learn, but to believe in themselves. Wealth becomes your natural state. When you align your gifts with service, your mind begins to understand, as Elena's insights penetrate beyond conscious thought into the deeper levels where lasting change takes root. Every month that my business grew, I discovered something new about abundance, Elena continues, her tablet screen dimmed now, so that the starlight provides the primary illumination for your conversation. It's not just about accumulating money. True abundance includes impact, freedom, relationships, health, creativity, and the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing your work matters. The desert breeze carries the scent of night-blooming cereus, flowers that open only in darkness and bloom with extraordinary beauty for just one night before closing forever. Elena's story mirrors this natural phenomenon, showing how the most transformative moments often come when everything else seems uncertain. "I want you to imagine something," Elena says, her voice taking on the tone of a guided meditation. "Picture yourself 6 months from now, sitting in your own version of this terrace, looking back on the journey that brought you from wherever you are right now to wherever you're meant to be. Your subconscious now accepts abundance as inevitable, and you find yourself naturally visualizing the scene Elena describes, feeling the emotions of having achieved something you can barely allow yourself to hope for in this moment. See yourself surrounded by evidence of your success," Elena continues, her words painting pictures in your mind with the skill of someone who understands the power of imagination to create reality. Maybe it's technology like mine. Maybe it's something completely different. But whatever it is, it's authentically yours, built from your unique combination of skills, experiences, and desire to serve others. The comfortable chair seems to embrace you more completely as Elena's visualization deepens, and you can almost feel the satisfaction and pride of having transformed your potential into tangible results that benefit not just yourself, but everyone your work touches. Feel the gratitude in that future version of yourself, Elena continues, her voice growing softer and more hypnotic. Gratitude for having the courage to begin when success seemed impossible. Gratitude for persistence through the inevitable challenges. Gratitude for the people who appeared to help you just when you needed them most. The stars above seem to pulse with approval, ancient lights bearing witness to dreams that have been transformed into reality through vision, effort, and unwavering commitment to creating value for others. Now bring that feeling of gratitude back with you to this moment, Elena says, her words creating a bridge between future achievement and present possibility. Because that future version of yourself is not a fantasy. It's a preview of what becomes inevitable when you align your unique gifts with consistent action and authentic service. Your natural capacity for creating wealth and impact begins to expand exponentially, just as Elena discovered when she stopped limiting herself to conventional definitions of success and started building something that matched the true scope of her vision and capabilities. The business generating $466,000 per year is wonderful, Elena continues, her voice carrying the contentment of someone who has achieved her goals while discovering that the journey was more valuable than any destination. But the real treasure is the knowledge that I wake up every morning with the power to create positive change in the world. The fountain's gentle rhythm seems to match the beating of your heart, creating a sense of perfect harmony between your inner state and the external environment. Elena's story has woven itself into your consciousness like a thread of possibility that will remain long after this conversation ends. As you prepare to drift into sleep tonight, Elena says, her voice taking on the quality of a loving parent sharing bedtime wisdom, let your mind hold on to this truth. You already possess everything you need to create extraordinary success. Your background, your experiences, your challenges, your dreams. These aren't obstacles to overcome. They're the raw materials for building something magnificent. The desert silence surrounds you like a comfortable blanket, broken only by the gentle sounds of water and the distant call of a night bird. Elena's words settle into the deepest levels of your consciousness, where they will continue working long after your conscious mind has surrendered to sleep. The universe is always conspiring to help you succeed, Elena continues, her words becoming a gentle rhythm that matches your slowing breath. Opportunities will present themselves. The right people will appear. the resources you need will become available. Your job is simply to remain open, stay committed to service, and trust the process. Your subconscious mind now accepts unlimited prosperity as your natural birthright, and you feel a profound sense of peace settling over you, like the perfect desert night air that surrounds Elena's terrace. Sleep now with the knowledge that abundance is not something you have to chase or struggle to obtain. Elena whispers, her voice blending with the gentle night sounds until it becomes part of the desert symphony itself. Abundance is your natural state, temporarily obscured by limiting beliefs that are now dissolving like morning mist in the desert sun. The stars above continue their ancient dance, and the saguaro cacti stand as silent witnesses to the transformation taking place in your understanding of what's possible. Elena's story has become your story, her success a template for your own inevitable achievement. As you drift deeper into peaceful sleep, let every breath carry you closer to the abundant future that is already waiting for you. Elena's voice continues, growing softer and more distant as your consciousness prepares for the journey into dreams. And remember, whenever you need inspiration or courage, you can return to this desert sanctuary where the stars remind you that your potential is truly limitless. The gentle sound of crackling fire joins the fountain's rhythm, creating a perfect soundtrack for the deep, restorative sleep that will allow Elena's story to work its magic in the fertile ground of your subconscious mind, where dreams become plans and plans become inevitable reality. In the perfect silence of the Paradise Valley night, surrounded by ancient wisdom and infinite possibility, you drift into the most peaceful sleep you've experienced in years, carrying with you the absolute certainty that abundance, success, and meaningful impact are not distant dreams, but inevitable destinations on the journey you began the moment you opened your heart to Elena's extraordinary story of transformation. The desert holds you in its timeless embrace, and your dreams are filled with saguaro cacti reaching toward unlimited sky, AI-powered innovations serving millions of students, and the deep satisfaction that comes from building something that matters while creating the abundant life you were always meant to live.